Chapter 1. I Bomb Pearl Harbor. The Akagi pitched and rolled under my feet in the rough sea. White surf whipped across the flight deck in startling contrast to the pre-dawn blackness. The crews were hard-pressed to keep their planes from sliding into the sea. The time was 5:30 a.m. The day was the 7th of December. The year, 1941. I climbed to the Commander-in-Chief's quarters. "I am ready for the mission," I reported. Admiral Nagumo stood to his feet. He grasped my hand hard in his. "Fuchida," he said, "I have confidence in you." Together we entered the dim light of the briefing room where the pilots were waiting. The room was crowded, and some of the men were waiting. The room was crowded and some of the men were standing in the passageway, craning their necks to see me as I stood before the blackboard in which were written the positions of ships in Pearl Harbor. On that board also was the time, 0600 hours, and the day, 7 December. After I had called the men to attention, Captain Hasegawa gave us our final briefing. Then he said, "Take off according to plan." The crews scrambled to their places. I climbed to the command post above the flight deck. The operations officer, Genda, put his hand on my shoulder. He did not speak. He just smiled at me. I knew what was in his mind. Air Officer Masuda questioned me about the pitch and roll of the ship. Would the weather delay at the last minute the plans that had been laid so carefully over the past months? I reassured him. "If we can coordinate the takeoffs with a pitching deck, we'll be all right," I said. Then I saluted and left. My plane was in position, its tail striped with red and yellow to mark it as the commander's. Just before I got into the plane, the officer in charge of the maintenance gang came over to me with a white hachimaki, cloth headband. I could just make out his smile in the dim light. "It's a gift from the maintenance crews," he said. "We want you to take it to Pearl Harbor." I shook his hand and tucked the band into my flying cap. The engines warming up were a full-throated roaring chorus in my ears. Suddenly, a green lamp was swung in a circle at the end of the flight deck. It was the signal for the takeoff. As it was released, the first plane moved forward. It gained speed. I held my breath wondering if the pilot's timing would be right. Then, I breathed easier as it was airborne. Another followed, and another, out into the blackness. 15 minutes later, 183 fighter bombers and torpedo planes had taken off from the flight deck of 6 aircraft carriers. This was the first wave of the total 359 planes, which I led into Pearl Harbor. We were 230 miles due north of Oahu Island and Pearl Harbor. This was the culmination of my every waking thought since the day, September 24, 1941, when Commander Genda had taken me aside at Kagoshima on the southern tip of Kyushu and said, "Don't be alarmed, Fuchida, but we want you to lead our Air Force in the event that we attack Pearl Harbor." My heart was still pounding with the excitement of the proposal when Genda took me on board the Akagi for conference with 1st Air Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo and his staff including Chief of Staff